pre-Socratic mood ring. You think you're confused? On somewhat shaky ground, Finkelberg attributes to Parmenides an equivalence between the force of destruction and the force of love. Stick a pin in a little doll in Portland, someone cries out in Amarillo. By the cash register, the mood ring I put on says I'm happy, but half the rings in the box say they're happy with nothing but air. Even though I know the air is sad and exhausted, like a mule carrying a load of dead car batteries out of this steep valley of ozone tears. Thunderbolt steers everything, says Heraclitus. This morning, I told my commander I didn't want to be a bomber anymore before I woke up. I was tired of the mule, too, the way it cries out from the deep nothingness of being, and the way it goes silent, and it's an accusatory silence. The commander's used to guys faking all sorts of outs, numbness of limbs, tunnel vision, foreign lisps, ear splinters, but I thought I had a special connection with him because of his moth collection, even though he insisted he just liked pinching the heads off small, silky creatures. Well, maybe I am just a piece of dust burning upside down in the burning sky. But when the nose-pierced cashier hands back my credit card, it seems even more glittery. The bad news is I can't get the ring off. But the good is it's only $5 and will tell me I'm happy all day. Street of Sailmakers. It's not easy turning into smoke, not easy blowing away, because even if the mind is an amaryllis, it still struggles like a moth in a spider web. Because the futility of cathedrals is more beautiful than heaven, when he wasn't hearing what he wanted, Monk, mid-song, would kick his sidemen off stage until it was just him and the damn audience wondering who was next. When my mother died, I was far away and got farther, a rectangular shadow on stilts. Hello, commodious sky, you look high on fumes. How many times must I drop bulbs into a hole in the ground and still not know how to be joyous? Years of washing dishes, watching sunsets and insects, and still no easier to see what's written in the dark. Little shiver, I want to preserve you. Rosebud, I'll try to hold you forever in my mouth. The brutal filament inside a glow. I was thinking how last night my wife screamed in her sleep, "I'm sorry I ever married you." When I shook her awake, she said, "Not you, Alfred." "Who the hell is Alfred?" I said. Obviously the wrong tactic. I already know about the drummer I felt sexually inferior to, even when I broke the good china and climbed onto the roof naked and painted a very crude starfish on the wall. He was sort of famous, or at least in a sort of famous band, so I got all their CDs and couldn't even hear any drumming. I guess he was that good. I felt like a radiator landed on me. Birds started talking to me, and not out of friendliness. Even when they asked directions, it was hostile. I spent 9 hours in the grocery store and looked down in my cart, and there's nothing but some run-down kohlrabi. Don't say a damn thing, I'd say to the kohlrabi. Suddenly, I couldn't catch my breath. Pain shot through me like a jellyfish thrown in a fan. Whoever was on the other side of the door started turning the knob. The doctor burst in, but kept his back to me, just stood there shaking and sobbing while I sat on the table in a paper wrapper trying to fill the world with light. I put these poems in this book in alphabetical order, thinking they'd be easier to find. But I didn't bargain on the part about having to know the alphabet. I should have done them by size. This is called Poem with a Stone in It. Norman Mailer tried to punch everyone in the face. Then he had a hard time getting up the stairs. Fuck it, he thought. Keep working. And you're worried about what? Blossoms fall into vroom, graffitied all the way down. Whatever you can throw back into the ocean, go ahead. Throw back into the ocean. Fall into vroom. Sideways flung unto the scissoring flyways and fallways, heaved forward into the mortal coil. Kenneth Coke wanted to make even grief delightful, then he could hardly eat dim sum. Oh well, he thought, keep working. I tried to hold on by the suction of my hand against the plane window, shadowing over the Sierras that only seem not to quiver. But everything quivers. Words, chalices, ash, friendship. The waves slither themselves quiet, heeding whatever moody pool. My underworld connections, amazed I still breathe. My lover an oyster, my overlords embezzling the last wits from my mother, so she forgets where everything is hidden. The Nippon chocolate sets, my birth certificate, the mink collar that clamped its own tail in its mouth, bead-eyed. That was her with the knife in the condo hall. That was me, unrecognizable. Childhood falls into vroom, Tuesday into vroom. When the ocean has its face covered with fog, it hears something it can't reach. Yeah, like who don't, only smaller. Hole in it. After the dog has to be put to sleep, you can feel the hole when you walk into the library by the mural of the baby Achilles being dipped into the numbing river, but also when you walk into the forest. Everything has a hole in it, not just Monday or the cut roses on the third day, or Sears. Everything is a tornado with a pupil, so the tears can get out and the dreams in, which is why you keep having to buy wine glasses your friends keep breaking, doing their good deeds of flying around and trying to clean up. And it's as if you haven't seen them for years. You're an echo in a well, and the dog's still looking at you like you're a toy because of the hole in your chest, like the bottom of a flower pot, sadness sticking out like fuzz off a dandelion, the filaments waving like kelp around a deep-sea rift, a hole like the center of the universe, a long tube like the dimensions in knots, like the flight paths around Chicago or Mozart. Sometimes the whole makes breath into music, and if the fingers get involved, it's complicated. But something simple still gets through, like food or melody or love, like a pipe in a mansion, a breeze through bulwarks, a throat connecting mouth to lungs and intestines, like a wick only hollow, but that's still where the flames attach. Okay, let's find something easier to read. I like how it says 90 seconds Y on the cup here, in case I forget where I am. The rhythms pronounce themselves, then vanish. After they told me the CT showed there was nothing wrong with my stomach, but my heart was failing, I plunked one of those weird $2 T-balls I bought in Chinatown, and it bobbled and bloomed like a sea monster and tasted like feet. And I had at this huge chocolate bar I bought at Trader Joe's and didn't answer the door, even though I could see it was UPS. And I thought of that picture Patty took of me in an oval frame. Sweat itself is odorless, composed of water, sodium chloride, potassium salts, and lactic acid. It's bacteria growing on dead skin cells that provides the stink. The average lifespan of a human taste bud is 7 to 10 days. Nerve pulses can travel up to 170 miles per hour. All information is useless. The typical lightning bolt is 1 inch wide and 5 miles wide. How to be a surrealist. Sleep well. That's enough of that poem. Some recent bestsellers. After a horrific car crash, how you can burn fat every day. A guide to adopting a whole food diet from an architect and serial killer, linked by a World's Fair of 1893. With a blend of storytelling, research, and spiritual quest, a cancer doctor offers a plan for safeguarding yourself against the living dead. The owner of a Manhattan hotspot, chef to the last and greatest Comanches, encounters Jesus in spite of the lowest payroll in baseball. Advice for parents to be from a dog's point of view. Gizzard song. This starts as a kind of conversation over the phone. Dean, it's Tony. No birds are nesting in my birdhouses. What could it mean? I don't know why I answered the phone. There's already too much going on in Nagaduchi's and not even a hello. Tony, you haven't even asked about my operation. You sick? No, I had a goddamn heart transplant. They do those with laser now, right? Laparoscopically? No, mine was more complicated, I say, with knives. Ouch, he deducts. You must be okay now, though, right? Antlers are growing out of my floors. A snowman, an evil snowman, delivers my mail. Hair's growing out of my forehead. My tongue's purple from taking so many pills, so no. Well, sorry, but you're the only person I can call. No one knows the habits and inklings of our winged friends like you. Or a query about a foundling fledgling, a moody rooster, an owl with self-esteem issues, you're the go-to guy. Even if you feel like a wobbly oblong peg driven into a wedge of cheddar, you're the go-to guy who holds it all together, not only in avian matters, but in all atmosphere affairs. Comets or Martians are your métier, angels and even clouds, for crying out loud. What would we do without you? One day, no birds. Then stars all fall down. Then what? Nothing. The void, the dark maw of zilch. He was working himself into a fine pitch, and I had to admit, even if he was feeding you regurgitated worm, he could make you feel special. And all my pains, my multitudinous pains, would shrink to a single whinge like what a word makes when it's misspelled. Pilgrim, I say, you need to clear out the old nests. Your house is probably jammed with others' twigs and mud and stuff. Birds, like the rest of us, prefer clean starts. And as I spoke, I felt my new heart roost deeper in my chest, fluffing out its blue breast, looking for something to peck. And this is how mercy and poetry moves through the world. Delphinium's in a window box. Every sunrise, sometimes in strangers' eyes. Not necessarily swans, even crows, even the evening fusillade of bats. That place where the creek goes underground, how many weeks before I see you again? Stacks of books, every page, characters' rage and poets' strange contraption of syntax and song, every song even when there isn't one, every thistle, splinter, butterfly over the drainage ditches, every stray, every question, conversation, even with almost nothing, cricket, cloud. Because of you, I'm talking to crickets, clouds, confiding in a cat. Everyone says, come to your senses, and I do, of you. Every touch electric, every taste of you, every smell, even burning sugar, every cry and laugh. Toothpicked samples at the farmer's market, every melon, plum, I come undone, undone. Thank you.